Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, thank the honourable member for this question. Just to contextualise this particular question, Mr. Speaker, sir, Cyclone Winston, which was in 2016, within 36 hours wiped off 1/3 of the value of our GDP. The cyclone caused widespread destruction, impacting about 62% of Fiji's population, affected 540,000 Fijians and over 30,000 households, resulted in 44 fatalities, damaged almost 500 schools and 88 health clinics and medical facilities. Widespread damage was also sustained to the agricultural sector, infrastructure and utilities, roads, bridges, jetties, ice crossings, etc. When you have 1/3 of the GDP wiped off within 36 hours, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is no minor event. Nor is it any minor feat to actually recover from that particular position. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fijian government launched a number of initiatives. One of them, of course, included talking to the FNPF board, and the FNPF board itself recognized, given that 540,000 Fijians were affected, that they should also provide some latitude in respect of people being able to access some funds from the general account. So they allowed $1,000 per withdrawal. And given the urgency of the matter and the dramatic impact of Cyclone Winston, there was hardly any bureaucratic processes to go through. So anybody that was a member of FNPF, the FNPF relied on their goodwill to make the correct representations, allowed them to withdraw up to $1,000. Many people withdrew the funds because they genuinely needed them. Some people withdrew those funds because they wanted to go and watch Hong Kong Sevens or buy a new fridge or sofa. The reality of the matter, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that about $276 million was withdrawn from FNPF post TC Winston. And Mr. Speaker, sir, of course, it depended on the contribution or the amount available in the general account. On top of that, Mr. Speaker, sir, government also, as you know, as the members of this Parliament are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, we embarked on what we call the Help for Homes program, in which we essentially funded $127.8 million of rebuilding of homes. We spent $234.5 million in rehabilitating schools, social welfare top-up of $20.2 million, other rehabilitation from the economic social sectors, $97.6 million, which was total government funding of about $480 million, plus the FNPF payout of $275 million. Then, of course, the insurance companies also paid out about $189.4 million. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, that was the level of injection that took place into the economy. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, as we've highlighted in the discussions in the past 2 days, as we have currently now, where members, when they do withdraw funds, can only withdraw from the general account, they do not withdraw from the preserved account. The IMF report that the Honourable Gerengere Tambua refers to, which I have here, actually does not talk about replenishing the funds. What it does say, and I'd like to read from that particular paragraph, it says, pension savings used to mitigate the impact of tropical cyclone Winston should be rebuilt. Should be rebuilt, not replenished. There's a huge difference. And it goes on to say the Fiji National Provident Fund allowed 180,000 pension contributors to withdraw up to 30% of pension savings, about 2.8% of GDP. This measure was effective in mitigating the adverse impact of Winston on many households. However, it is also important to lay out a strategy to restore these pension savings to ensure that contributors will eventually have access to adequate pensions, especially given that a large fraction of pension members have relatively low pension saving balances at present. So that's the whole paragraph. You cannot take it out of context. The difference of replenishing, of course, and rebuilding means the members themselves can rebuild the funds. And in anticipation, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is the first time any government in Fiji, since the commencement of FNPF in the late 60s, of course, which was an idea proposed by the late A.D. Patel, the former leader of National Federation Party. For the first time, we actually have where the employers are actually paying more than the employees. It always used to be 6% employee, 6% employer, 8% employee, 8% employer. For the first time, we said 10% employer, 8% employee. One of the reasons we did that, Mr. Speaker, sir, was obviously two reasons, I should say. One particular reason, of course, was to rebuild the stockpile of pension in the individual employees' accounts. And number two, by having a higher contribution to the pension fund, it does not actually come out from the disposable income of the employee. In other words, if we said to the employee, you also have to contribute 10%, the amount of money they would be taking home every week would be less. But here we have the pension fund increasing, but the disposable income not being affected for the employee. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me just highlight the amount of FNPF contributions that have actually taken place. In 2015, the total contribution for the year through FNPF deductions was $432.2 million. In 2016, it was $480.6 million. In 2017, $546.2 million. 2018, $599.9 million. In 2019, $652 million. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, you can see that every year is growing. Obviously, it means that there are more contributions coming towards the fund for two reasons. One of them is because the rate of pension contribution has increased because of the 8 and 10. And secondly, more and more people are being employed. When you have more people employed in the formal sector, the rate of contribution obviously will increase. Out of that $652 million, Mr. Speaker, sir, $72.4 million was the additional 2% that the employers paid. And I can go back and look at all the other figures. I've got it here. 66.7 in 2018, 60.7 in 2017, 53.4 in 2016, 48 million in 2015. Additional amounts because of the 2% interest. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is quite a lot of work being done. Of course, as the honourable member would perhaps know, that one of the ways also of assuring that the pensioners actually have the would-be pensioners in particular, have a safe savings for themselves once they retire, is the smart level of investments that FNPF actually makes. Because if FNPF actually makes smart investments, then the allocation of that investment goes towards the members' funds, and therefore they have more money. And I understand FNPF has in fact just announced today, I understand, some additional funding for those who are pensioners, not those who are currently not pensioners or below the age 55, but those over the age 55, they've been actually given a certain return now for the COVID-19 response. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, that addresses the issue. Thank you.